we had already reached like 100 grand on just construction. That wasn't including tables, chairs, none of that. And I'm like, okay. And I remember sitting outside on the curb right up there, and I just broke down. And I'm like, I can't do this. I know I spent all this money, but I'm just gonna have to just walk away from it. I can't do it. It was a lot because
welcome back to the Two Stubborn to Fail podcast, where we tell stories about overcoming adversity. Today we have none other than Ladon Mathews in the building, the owner of Events by Ladon. How you doing today?
I'm good.
Good. We're gonna have a real good conversation today.
Okay.
But before we get into it, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe to the channel wherever you get your podcast from. This interview, actually, my first introduction into you was one of the most important days of my life, my wedding day. You helped out with some of the decor in there, and actually, believe it or not, it's been 5 years. It was 5 years.
It's been 5 years already.
July the 29th.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Time flies.
Time flies.
Yeah.
I've been doing podcasting since November of last year.
Right.
And, you definitely were one on my list that I needed to reach out to and see if you were interested. So I do appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
So let's just hop right into it.
Okay.
Where are you from?
Originally, so I was born in Chicago. I'm not from Chicago. I've only been there a year.
Okay. And
then we moved straight to Charleston from here. And then came on to Columbia.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how long you been here in Columbia?
I've been in Columbia for about 5 years. It's been about 5 years.
Okay.
So right around the time that we took y'all, for clients is when we were kind of moving. Yeah.
Okay. So what was it like? Well, I know you said you don't remember anything from Chicago, but could you kind of explain like your experience growing up?
Yeah. Well, pretty much like I was born, and then a year later we moved to Charleston. Been there a majority of my life. Went to Goose Creek High School. Pretty much, I didn't even know what I wanted to do in school at all. Like, I was like, do I want to join the military? I was kind of lost and out there. Like, I don't know what's about to happen. I did a little bit of wrestling here and there for Goose Creek High School, and then that was pretty much all band, those type of things. Never anything creative, so I was like, I don't know I do know how I got to this point, but I guess we'll kind of get into that.
I mean, and I share that similar background in that I had no idea what I wanted to do in high school. Get to your senior year and you just know that you're supposed to go to the military or go to college or get a job.
Yeah.
Those are our main options that we know of at the time.
Yeah.
So I knew that I didn't want to go, full time into work.
Right.
So I went to college.
Yeah.
Still didn't know what I wanted to do.
No.
So that's definitely, I definitely know where you're coming from. And that it's just, if nobody has that conversation with you, then we're not thinking about that stuff. We're too busy being kids.
Right. Yeah. And it snuck up on me. I remember my sister told me pretty much one day, she was like, I think I was going to 9th grade. And she was like, you're going to look up and you're going to be in 12th grade and you're going to be like, where did all this time go? Now it's time to be an adult. And that's how it happened. I was
exactly
like,
how it happened. And when people tell you that, you always, as a kid, you're like, I hear you, but I don't hear you.
Right.
And then, fast forward to being an adult, and then a year feels like 6 months now.
Yeah.
So I definitely, it does come full circle.
Yeah.
So at what point did you get into event design?
Okay. So, pretty much what happened was my sister was getting married, and I'm like, okay, well, I can help out whatever I need to do. Pretty much like the guys, all they have to do is get their hair cut, get their tuxes and all that stuff. But the girls have that, strenuous process, getting hair, makeup, all that. And I'm like, well, I can help you. What do you need help with? And she's like, well, can you help? It was a lady from my church decorating. She was like, can you help decorate? And I'm like, I mean, okay, I'll just follow whatever. And so ended up doing that. Then like family and friends and stuff start calling and they're like, can you help me do this? I seen what you did for your sister's wedding. And from there, it was like, now strangers are calling. Right. I'm like, okay, at this point, I got to make some kind of money off of it. It's beyond a hobby now because, it's beginning to be a lot of time, a lot of effort. So I'm like, okay, I got to make some money off of it. So I just turned it into a business.
So from the point where we're at your sister's wedding to when you decided to, I'm gonna have to start charging. Like, how long was that period?
It was probably so I was still in school when that all happened. However, it was still not a plan of mine. Right. This was just something that I did that one time. Okay. And then I probably did 20, 30 different events and things for people, creative type things for people, for the church, all of it. Vacation Bible School.
The church will get free.
Yeah, they would. Look, I can't lie. Yeah, they got a lot out of me. And I look back and I'm like, where did I even have all this time? Because I was still trying to work. I was like working like fast food restaurants at the time when I was young, and like I don't even remember where I got all this time from. And I was spending my own money. That's the crazy part. Like,
people don't realize how much money goes into one event.
Right. Yeah. And back in the day, it wasn't as bad, but I was still like my whole paycheck because I was living with mom here and there, and just spending my own paycheck to make other people's events go right. So I'm like, okay, yeah, gotta get paid for it. So about a couple of years after my sister's wedding.
Okay. That's what I was thinking about, maybe 2 or so years before you made it official. So how long have you been in the game?
I've been in the game. This year will be 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a while. Now, that 15 years, all 15 years wasn't me making money, but
I'm just talking about experience and all, because that's what you charge for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
15 about 15 years. Yeah. Okay, that's dope. That's dope. At this point, what's your favorite type of event?
I like the weddings. Mm-hmm. You would think it would be more of like the easier sounding events, like kids parties and stuff, but those ones take a lot more work. Believe it or not. Like,
is it because they're more personalized?
Yeah, they're more personalized. You have to do a lot of research with those ones. Like when I first started doing kids events, it was like, what's Paw Patrol? Right. So you had to watch episodes, and I'm like, I'm not into cartoons, but I'm gonna watch it so that I can kind of, know where to go with this. And but weddings, you just kind of go with what they're looking for. It's not the client's not all over the place either, because you ask a kid what they want. They don't know. Yeah. So.
What would you say are some things that people don't know about event design that they probably should?
The cost.
Yeah.
The cost. And I know, like just being, going through having a wedding and stuff like that, it kind of throws you off a little bit. Mm-hmm. You're like, I didn't realize that flowers cost this much. I didn't realize food costs this much. So when people get, into planning an event, they just have to know that it's up there.
Well, I think and I'm guilty of this too. I think we all get caught up in the nice things and the things that we see on social media or the things that we see on a website,
right,
and not really knowing how much, like you said, how much that really costs.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you can have that, but it's a price tag that
it's a
comes
price
with
tag,
that,
yeah,
and you may not be comfortable with that price
right,
tag,
yeah,
especially when you talk about event design in particular, because that's just one aspect.
mm-hmm,
And you talk
yep.
about a wedding, you got a lot of things to
A lot
consider.
of small things.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes my clients they'll come in and they'll be like, I checked this off the list. I'm like, well, what about ice? Smaller
Right,
things
right.
like that. Like you don't even did you get ice today to, stock your bar and for drinks and everything? They're like, I gotta get that too. Like the smallest stuff.
Yes,
So
I definitely get that.
yeah.
Um, so what has the experience been like being a male in a predominantly female industry? How has that been for you?
To be honest, it kind of works in my favor a little bit. Trying to see if I can compare it to. Okay, for instance, there's a couple people that their niche. I'm trying to figure out the best way to put it. Like, okay, African Americans in country music.
Right.
Sometimes people are just going to tune in just because they're like, okay, we're not used to seeing African Americans in country music.
Right.
So it's kind of like it helped there. But in the beginning, people weren't as open with it.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, this guy is doing that.
Right.
Like you're gonna be able to pull off my you're gonna be able to pull off my event, or like, it was one of those moments because they were used to being like, it's more of the females that are doing it, and I would get calls and they'll be like, well, who are you exactly?
Yeah.
Like on the phone, I'm like, oh, I'm Ladon. They're like, oh, okay, well, we'll see how this goes, but I didn't know it was a male doing it. So it's one of those things where you have to prove yourself, but at the same time, after they saw the work, it was more like, okay, we can, do this. And now it's one of the things like, okay, it's somebody else is doing it other than the same, what we see a lot of. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So it was just some initial hesitancy until they saw what you were really capable of.
Yeah. And it was a lot of, like I said, free events, lower cost events, just to kind of get my name out there and prove that I can do it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So did you have any tips for anybody looking to follow in those footsteps of event design?
Yeah. Education. Like when I started doing it, it was nobody out here educating. Now we have like workshops and stuff. So I even do workshops. We do probably 2 a year for other event planners, and they can come in, learn floral, learn, the do's and don'ts, just education. Some people jump into it and have no idea what they're doing, and they'll charge somebody. Contracts.
Right.
Yeah, contracts are a big thing. You got to make sure that you have those contracts with the clients because you are working with them for a year plus sometimes. Right. So you got to make sure that you're providing what you say you're going to provide, and they're providing on their end what they say they're going to provide. So, yeah.
Right. Now we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Real Dope Photography is more than just dope photos. It's a celebration of your brand, beauty, and confidence at any stage of your life. Our goal is to capture the greatest moments in your life and the world around you. Visit our website at realdopephotography.com. That's realdopephotography.com. And the real is spelled R-E-E-L. Like a reel of film. Make sure you set up your free consult today. Mention the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast on your booking form in the How Did You Hear About Us section, and you can receive a 20% discount. All right, let's get back to the show.
Welcome Welcome back to the Two Stubborn and Fair podcast. Today we have Ladon Mathews in the building. Just continuing the conversation. Explain the importance of attention to detail.
That is so important. I'll tell you right now. Brides will come in and they will love everything that you do and notice one thing that you don't do. They will. If they ask you for it, you have to make sure that you're able to provide everything. So writing it down, reviewing it with your team if you have a team, is really important because you never want to mess up somebody's day, or you don't want to provide them with something that is not what they're asking for. So you just got to pay attention to detail. It's very important in this industry.
Okay. And then with that, I noticed you talked about a team. Do you need a team at some point?
In my opinion, you do, depending on how large your events are going to be. If you're staying small and you think that you can pull it off, on your own, I still say you need it. Yeah, because it can get stressful.
Yeah.
And like when we were loading and unloading our trailers and stuff, getting supplies on and off at different venues, that was a lot. And I think I've done it a couple times by myself and was like, I can't. Why am I doing this on my own? Like, it's a lot. Yeah.
Especially here in South Carolina.
Right.
You got to deal with the heat.
Because we have been out in the heat, rain. We've been out in the snow one time, even though we don't get snow like that. We've been out in the snow that one time that we did some years ago. And I couldn't imagine just doing it all on my own. So, yeah, you definitely, in my opinion, need a team.
Okay. And then with that, I know you mentioned some outdoor events. Do you primarily do indoor events now, or?
Yeah. So since the pandemic, staffing was an issue, and so as you know, like the whole world, I don't know what's been going on, but it's just been hard to get staff. And so we were like, okay, well, we don't want to shut down completely based off of not having enough people. We don't want to overwork ourselves. So what we'll do is we'll make it in-house, exclusively in-house for right now, and then we'll open it up back later. So yeah, once we staff up enough.
So from 15 years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of experiences. Is it anything that you were doing initially that you do differently now?
Oh yeah. Like I said, contracts. So my very first paid wedding, or actually the first few, we weren't doing anything but like, hey, here's the cash. We didn't have contracts. Nobody was really doing that back in the day. We changed that. We now verify stuff. We email. A lot of it was like we call, meet with the person at like a Panera Bread or something like that, and it was a 30-minute conversation. They give us cash in an envelope, and bam, done. But now it's like it's more details in booking with us because we don't again want to mess up somebody's day.
Right.
So we make sure that we know what they expect out of us and what we expect from them, versus just a one-time conversation and bam, we're at your event. Luckily, it worked out for us. In the years, we were able to, provide what they needed, but it could have went very wrong if we didn't have all that.
So what, in your opinion, is, I guess, your least favorite about the industry?
Let's see. For me, and I'm going to just be honest with you. I hate paperwork. Like, and when people think of event planning or event design and stuff, they don't think about what it takes in paperwork. Like, a majority of it, the easy part now is actually setting up an event. The sending out the contracts, the back and forth with emails and stuff, making sure that all of their vendors have turned in what they need to turn in. That's a lot, and it can be stressful. Luckily, we have different people now that are in those departments doing different things, so it's not like all on me. So we have an event manager now, and she takes care of a lot of the emails.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good tip. Just if there's anything that you don't want to do, hire somebody.
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
it. If you can afford it.
Right, yeah. And sometimes that will, because I'm more of the go getter now, so I'll post and I'll go find the clients, and then they'll just do everything else. But sometimes that makes more money in the end because I can focus on getting the client. Yeah.
Okay. So in addition to owning your own event design business, you also have some venues.
Yeah.
How was that process like?
It was a lot, and the reason why is because we started on this right before the pandemic, and when we signed our contracts, we got our contractors and started paying them. Then the pandemic happened, and I was like, I just paid all this money. I can't get it back. They've already started working on this. It was a lot, and it was crazy stressful. But what happened in the end, it kind of worked out in our favor. We were actually able to open right when everything opened back up.
Okay.
So during the time where everybody was in the house, that whole time contractors were coming in individually, like a couple at a time, working on the building, and they were done right when the government was like, okay, we can open back up.
Okay. So that wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad, but it was a stressful thing just
I
thinking
bet.
about it. I'm like,
Because at one point we didn't know when.
yeah. I was like, I still got to pay these bills either way. Like, I've signed a contract. I don't know what I'm gonna do if it don't open back up, but it worked out. Yeah.
So at this point, how many spaces do you currently have?
So we did have 3. We shut one down. That was a lot again with staffing, trying to go back and forth. Now we have the 2 spaces. So we have one that's more intimate and holds about 50 people, and then one that holds about 200 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any tips for anybody who's looking to have their own event space?
Yeah, do your research on everything. Location was really important for us. And just knowing what your county and city regulations are. There was some barriers and hurdles that I had to get over with just, Richland County, just making sure that Richland County, would approve us. And the crazy part about it is they won't approve you until, pretty much after you have already started with construction and everything's passed. So it's like you can go through this whole process, and this is one thing I didn't know. You can go through this whole process, build this whole, space from nothing, and then the county can, deny your zoning, and then you're out. You're like, what can I do for that? So doing the research, making sure that your county is going to be able to zone you for that area. Like, they wouldn't put another event space in this area just because they already know it's too much going on now at this point.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That would eliminate the conflict.
Right. Yeah. And I didn't do that. I just was like, I'm signing this contract. I'm gonna get these contractors out here, and they were like, I don't know if you can do that. And so it ended up working out, and they approved it. So, yeah.
So what is your work-life balance like, which is having everything going on and still trying to have a life at the same time?
It was a lot in the beginning. Mm, I had to come up with a way to balance everything. So now we close at 6 o'clock instead of continuing to take phone calls and stuff, which I was doing that in the beginning. It's just like it's got to cut off so that I can, focus on home life. In the beginning, it was like go, go, go all the time. There was no time for rest. I would take calls 12 o'clock at night, believe it or not. There'll be people who call me and they're like, hey, I need an event space quick or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, let me send you over everything. Now it's like, you got to wait till the next business day. That way that we're not stressed out trying to make sure that we're constantly working. So balancing.
I'm sure some of that kind of paid off too, because initially, when you're starting anything, you can kind of throw balance out the window because you're trying to get yourself out.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do. Honestly, and I have another business venture that we're trying to kind of work on right now, and I know that I'll do the same thing that I did with this building, work around the clock, just to kind of get it up, and then we can kind of chill out. Yeah.
So I know you talk about we just talked about work-life balance. What does it mean? What does your family mean to you?
They mean everything. I mean, I wouldn't even be doing this, and I honestly feel like it wouldn't have expanded to what it is right now if I didn't have a family. Like, I probably would be satisfied with the original space that I was, using, just because it was enough to, get by. If it was a single person, I could have got by with just that and being content. But I was like, no, I got to have something more for later on for my kids and stuff. That way that it's not just a right now thing. It's gonna, it will keep making money for, the future, like the children, grandchildren.
It's like that generational
wealth. Yeah.
Something pass on.
Yep.
So, what is your favorite part about like just your kids being a father?
Learning. I'm learning what I guess my parents went through. I'm finding myself doing the same stuff that they. It's sometimes funny. It's like I say the same things. I'm like, we don't. Do you have McDonald's money? Like, I caught myself saying stuff like that. I catch myself just repeating history, what I went through with being a kid, and it's probably one of my favorite things. Just spending time with them too. We just came back from vacation, and it was good because I learned a lot about them that I was missing being at work sometimes, and them being at school, and it's like you see each other in passing sometimes. So spending time is probably one of the most favorite things about it. Yeah.
I can see that. I know for me, obviously we had 2 kids in the beginning, and then baby Layla, she's 3 now, and I think the most rewarding part for me is actually like the love that they have for me.
Oh yeah,
like you can feel it. It's a testament to how present you are.
Yeah,
and nothing can compare to that.
Right. Yep. And it's crazy you say that because I just dropped one of my sons off to go get his hair done for school, and we were at Chick-fil-A. We were just eating, and he was just telling me, and he's actually adopted. So, he was telling me he was about a home that he was in in the past, not to tell his business, but a home that he was in the past, and he used to always tell us like he didn't know why he had to leave there or whatever. And he told me today, he was like, I enjoy being here. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And so I was like, yeah, that was like, what you want? What's coming? I know there's something coming after that, but it's the same thing about the love and everything. You don't always see it, but when they do express it, it's like
Mm-hmm. I actually wanted to go back to the event design because I had one more question as far as that was concerned.
Yeah.
Inventory. How important is it to kind of keep your inventory up to date?
In this industry, is always something new, the new trends, the new fashions, and everything. We actually have a sale once a year, and we get rid of pretty much everything, and we start back over. Because that stuff is obsolete after a year. Sometimes the expiration date on event stuff is so crazy. Yeah. So you might not make back what you spent on it, but we can't use it long. Yeah, people don't want the same stuff that they had 20 years ago. The lace and all those type of things. They don't want that anymore. They're on to the new things. So it's really important, and it's really important to keep it organized too. Our team pretty much comes in Mondays and Tuesdays, and that's all they do. Organize everything from the weekend.
So what is the process like after an event when you gotta do linen sometimes and all of that cleanup?
Yeah, that's the part that everybody does not see. So pretty much, I'll start from the night of. They break it all down. If I'm here, I assist with it, but usually we schedule a couple people to come in at the end of the night. They break it all down. They separate it, so linen go into like the linen bags, chargers, and all that stuff go to the sink area to get washed. Glasses get washed. All the centerpieces like the flowers and stuff get put in their area. And it takes, like I said, it takes that night of the event, and then it takes Monday and Tuesday just to get it back to, where it needs to be at. So we have, it almost looks like a store. And we have a couple storages, and then we have on-site and off-site storages. And they have carts, almost like a store, putting, restocking and putting everything back. But it takes hours and people. Right. Multiple people. So.
That actually another question popped up, and I know I'm kind of all over the place at the end, but remember, I'm remembering questions that I originally had that got erased. But another one of the questions that I had was actually about setup and I know people really don't understand how much time it takes to set up at times. What is, in order for you to do, ideally, how much time would you need to set up an
event? And it's going to depend on the amount of people and what the client has. We've had as much as a 3-day setup, and then we've had as little as 2 hours to set up.
That's the stress.
Yeah. Listen, we've had some times where I'm like, okay, when we get in here, I need y'all to just go. So we have points and times like when we have 2 hours to set up. Sometimes we're literally behind those doors, and when the last client leaves, because we do changeovers. So sometimes there'll be somebody in here in the morning, and then turn around and there'll be somebody in there in the evening. If we got to switch it out, we have to wait till the last guest leaves, and then we come in, clean the room, flip the room, and we're going like that. But sometimes it takes 3 days to install everything. Like a larger way.
That's got to be a huge.
Those are the ones like a lot of the celebrity events take about 3 days.
We'll be right back after these sponsorships, and when we come back, we'll have your two-step in the family.
Okay.
Built on a passion and love for art, All Things Design is here to create spaces you will love and custom designs and memories that will last a lifetime. All Things Design specializes in event design, interior design, corporate design, custom design projects, and home closet organization. And that's just to name a few. Communication is key. We're here for whatever you need. We'll help you solidify your vision and keep in constant contact until your dream is realized. All Things Design, a step above the rest. Be sure to book at allthingsdesign.org. All right, let's get back to
the
the show.
Two-Step in the Field podcast. As promised, this part of the show, I like to kind of end on the two-step in the field moment. Basically, a moment where you had to overcome adversity that sticks out the most. What would that moment be for you?
So I had to think on this a little bit. This one, there was a couple times, but I'm gonna tell you the most. I guess the one that sticks out to me is going to be pretty much opening up this building. Like I said earlier, the venue side, of course, with the COVID and everything, but there was a point in time where I had spent all this money. We had already reached like $100,000 on just construction. That wasn't including tables, chairs, none of that. And I'm like, okay. And I remember sitting outside on the curb right up there, and I just broke down. And I'm like, I can't do this. I know I spent all this money, but I'm just gonna have to just walk away from it. I can't do it. It was a lot because county was down our backs about certain stuff, and there was stuff coming back like, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. You have to have, you know, whatever. It just like regulated stuff, and I'm like, I was not expecting it. And I sat there, and I was just like, I can't do it. And then I realized I'm like, I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for other people. We've got people booked here already. We were in the middle of construction, and people had already booked for 6 months from that day, and we didn't even know if we were going to be able to open because of COVID. And I'm like, and at this point, I still don't know if we can open. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go back in, and I'm going to work on everything I need to work on. The painters, fell through. Plumbing was crazy. It was acting up. Air conditioning. It was just everything you can imagine. Yeah, almost every aspect of this building gave us like trouble. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back in here, and we're just gonna tackle it one thing at a time. And it's probably because of my family, because of my kids. Because if I had not had, a motivation for it, I probably would have failed. But I had to think beyond me and say, this is for the future. So it was one of those moments that I wasn't proud of because I had gave up, for probably about 30 minutes. I was out there like about to make calls, like I'm about to give you back your building. Like, excuse me. So it was just one of those dang, sorry. It was just one of those things where I had to definitely step up and step out of my comfort zone of just knowing what was next and knowing that this was going to work out, and just overcoming. Yeah.
Man, that was dope. I didn't realize it you went through a whole lot to make sure this space.
Man.
When you say blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah. Oh, all of
all
it.
of it.
I literally, like, we were in here working right beside the contractors, and we had no electricity yet. And so we were in here in June, like busting our butts. Like you say, that's the sweat, blood. We were in here cutting up ourselves because we didn't know what we were doing. And then the tears, of course, sitting out on the curb trying to figure this out. So definitely blood, sweat, and tears.
Thank you for that moment. That definitely kind of summarizes exactly what I wanted it to. Just, you know, you coming through all of that and sit here and be able to record in this space,
right?
And see like just the attention, the detail that you put into it, to see the vision, your vision come true.
Right,
is really a dope thing to see.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you, your social medias, event spaces,
right,
the whole nine.
Okay, so of course, Events by Ladon is the original business. That is what started everything. So we still do design. We just do it in our event space, 494 Event Center. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram at Events by Ladon or 494 Event Center. Both pages have a lot of our past work and our work that's coming up. And then you can also reach us on our website, which is 494eventcenter.com. And then as far as talking to us, you can just give us a call at 843, I'm sorry, that's my old one, 803-995-2288.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, y'all reach out.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, I always like to end off with maybe, do you have any closing remarks or words of wisdom that you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, sure. Just working hard as a business owner, not giving up. I know everybody says that, but it's needed because it's one of those things where people do not realize there's businesses that close every day because people have given up on, you know, their hard work and stuff and just don't. And you have to, like you say, be too stubborn to, you know, fail. You have to just work through all of your issues, because had I not, this building would have been back empty because I was there, but I was like, you know, you just got to work through it. So work through it.
Well, there you have it. This has been another amazing episode of the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast. Today we had Ladon Mathews in the building. We appreciate you for letting us come in your beautiful space and record this episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. This is officially episode number 26, and we are signing out.